welcome back to Team 1V, and today I'm going to be talking about how I manage type 1 diabetes at school. I was diagnosed as a high schooler in the 10th grade in my sophomore year, and pretty much like everything I've been doing to help myself get through high school since then, since I've first been diagnosed. So one of the main things I've been doing every day I go to school is I bring a kind of a personal diabetes bag to school, and it's kind of like a JDRF bag, which is Breakthrough T1D. It's kind of like a organization they give it to me for free, but it's kind of like this bag, right? It zips up, and in there I have a bunch of like diabetes supplies and stuff, like my glucose monitor, so I can test myself in case my CGM is not working, or in case I just want to like double check, calibrate, or anything. I can check my blood sugar through there. A lot of times, like during brunch or lunch, if I need to eat but I cannot see my blood sugar, then what I do is I just use this to measure myself and then give insulin accordingly, so I don't need my CGM to be working at all times. And I can use this. Another thing is also test strips for ketones, because oftentimes you might have high blood sugar in the morning and it might last throughout much of the day, and you might have to check for ketones during this time period. And so yeah, sometimes like I've never had to use it, but you might have the time where you just might have to go to the bathroom and just use the ketone strip in order to see if you have ketones, because if you have large ketones, you might have to get removed from school. And yeah, it's definitely worth having a ketone test strip with you in this diabetes supply bag. Another thing to have is alcohol swabs, because you want to, while you're measuring your blood sugar using the glucose monitor, you want to have alcohol swabs as well in order to pretty much measure your insulin properly and make sure you have accurate readings. Another important thing to have is an insulin pen. This doesn't necessarily have to be in the diabetes bag. For example, I have it in a Frio, but I would say it's part of the diabetes kit and the diabetes stuff that you should bring to school. And pretty much what a Frio is that it's kind of like I've said it before, but again, it's kind of like a mini freezer or cooler that you have that you pretty much wet it every morning, and then you just bring it to school, and it pretty much keeps your insulin kind of cool and moist a little bit, and so the insulin doesn't go bad, and so you can have a pen that works throughout the day. And so I kind of use a pen just to make sure that I have a backup insulin and way of injecting insulin in case my blood sugar, just like my pump, does not work at all throughout the day. And this happens a lot of times, often where my pump just doesn't work. And so I sometimes have to rely on this insulin pen in order to get my blood sugar down. So I'd highly recommend that everybody bring themselves a insulin pen with them to school, or keep one at school with the wellness like office or center, in order to prevent themselves from like having like really high blood sugar. Because if your pod fails, like let's say early into the day, right, it's going to be really like detrimental to you and your blood sugar if, for example, like you don't have a pen or you don't have any means of getting insulin into your body, because then your blood sugar is just going to keep going higher and higher and higher until it's really high. Another thing you should have in this diabetes bag, if you don't have it in your wellness center already, is a Baqsimi. I think that even if you have one in your wellness center, which I'm going to talk about later on, about what you should give to your wellness center or your your wellness team, kind of, is a Baqsimi or glucagon, because this is pretty much essential to everybody. Every diabetic person should keep one of these on them at all times, in my opinion. And I think that you need one yourself as well, just in case, because somebody who knows that you're diabetic, if you faint, can help you get back using a glucagon injection or a Baqsimi. And so I would recommend that everybody have one of these on them in their diabetes kit, just in case. Another thing in this diabetes kit to have is an extra pod. This is like, I don't usually bring an extra pod because I have an insulin pen, but especially if somebody is using a pod and doesn't really want to use an insulin pen, definitely bringing an extra pump could be a good idea if they are okay with like changing their pump in class and would rather do that than inject themselves with insulin. So yeah, just keep this bag with them, and I keep it in my backpack. I oftentimes don't have to use it throughout the day, but sometimes it is necessary, and sometimes I have to use this bag. Another thing to do is to drop off a diabetes package once a year, pretty much. So in the beginning of the year, you prepare a diabetes package pretty much, and then you drop it off. The diabetes package includes glucose monitor, your paperwork and everything, and then your insulin pen, a ketone checker, and glucagon. This is pretty much needed for most schools, but even if it's not like necessary or the nurse doesn't want it, you should still give it to them, because this gives the nurse what they need in case of an emergency. And I personally feel safer knowing that they're prepared, and if in case I forget to bring something, for example, I forget to bring my diabetes bag one day, they have what's needed. Also, this makes it so in case I forget something, or in case, for example, I don't have like glucose levels with me, I can go to the nurse to get everything for easy access. Another thing in general is to visit the nurse. Like I know that they require you, for example, for me personally, they require me to go there every time my blood sugar is like below 80, which I think is completely unnecessary. I'm pretty independent with like managing my blood sugar. I'm 17 years old, so I don't think I need to go there every time my blood sugar is below 80. 80 is actually a pretty normal number. So unless it's like dropping really, really fast, I think that's not like really a concern for me. But if it's, you shouldn't completely ignore going to the nurse either. Like for example, if your blood sugar is really, really high, or if it's like low, you shouldn't just be like, oh, I'll be fine. You should definitely still go to nurse, especially if you don't have a low snack or you need to test your blood sugar or something happens suddenly. You should definitely go because, for example, especially if you don't have a low snack with you and you have a low blood sugar, like you might have to go to the nurse. So it's definitely okay going to the nurse and asking for a low snack, especially if you haven't brought one yourself. Another thing to do is to ask for academic accommodations. For example, like many people might need it, and definitely feel free to like ask it, and like don't be like, afraid of asking pretty much. For example, for SATs, for classrooms, and for AP exams, and for any college board things, you should ask for accommodations. Some accommodations that I have are breaks as needed and permission to like check blood sugar like slash my phone. I think this like definitely like helps me on my exam focus more. I know I can pause whenever I need it. Like for example, in the middle of AP exam, my blood sugar's high, I can pause and check my blood sugar. This also goes for like classroom, and I've even heard like some of like my people who I know who have type 1 diabetes who got an extra time. So you could ask for that as well. That could actually help you perform better on tests in general, especially if diabetes affects you a lot and you have problems with managing diabetes. Getting extra time could definitely help you not only manage yourself better during tests, but also could help you perform better on those tests as well. So definitely try to get as many of these like accommodations as you can, and you definitely should be able to get at least the accommodations I have just by asking your counselor and talking to the college board. So other like small tips I think is to definitely communicate with your teachers as needed. Like definitely in the beginning of the year, don't like either send them an email or in person talk to them. Just be like, tell them what's going on. Like be like, I have diabetes, type 1 diabetes. I'm gonna need my phone, or I'm gonna need to check my blood sugar, and just tell them like give them a debrief of the situation, and like if there's any alarms, it's okay. It's like what's going on with me. If I need to go to the wellness center and everything, if I have low high, if I have low. So yeah, you should just debrief all of your teachers, in my opinion, about that you have diabetes in the beginning of the year for every single teacher that you're gonna have. So I feel like sometimes it's okay to have privacy, but you should try to debrief like your teachers and let them know what's going on and keep them in touch as well. So yeah, those are all the things that I would like recommend you to do as a student, especially if you're in high school. And yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have anything that you want to share. And thanks for watching.